Good morning. I am Alicia Abrego, your facilitator for today's service. Please, as always, turn off your cell phones or put them on vibrate or airplane mode or whatever it works better for you. If you have an announcement for now or a joy or sorrow to read a bit later, please fill out the forms on the table in the back of the room and someone will bring them up to me. I want to welcome everyone here in person and those on Zoom. In fact, as always, if you are willing and able, please rise or turn in your seats and wave at the people on Zoom.
Better here, right?
Who?
Say it's better here.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but the two who are on Zoom can't be here. Hello, Edna, and hello, Roland.
Hey, if you are new here, please ask any one of us how to access our website or find out how to get involved in our activities. If you would like to receive our newsletter, please ask any one of us to put your name in our email list and we will figure out. Related to the ushers, there is a new sign-up sheet for ushers, so you can pick a certain Sunday of the month. This is new. So no one has to deputize people each Sunday. I had to ask what is deputize, so Dave explained. You were like, what is that? When he okay, anyways. Yeah. Each people each Sunday. Obviously, this is not set in stone. Please, if you are going to be away, we can figure out how to replace you. Not because you are you know what I'm saying. Just let us know in advance. And on the other hand, there is a new system of collection beginning today. Ushers will not offer the collection basket to individuals. Instead, the basket will be passed by each person to the next, with the last person in the row passing the basket behind them. That is new. And free think. Is what? Yes.
But you don't miss anyone that way.
Exactly. The way I remembered Free thinkers will meet today at 1 p.m. And Tina's office will be Tuesday, June the 10th, from 12:30 to 2:30. Please make an appointment so you won't have to wait. Truly Mindful Tuesday Meditation will meet Tuesday, June the 10th at 11 a.m. And Bisbee Pride will be Saturday, June the 14th. Please let Tina know if you would like to walk in the parade. Also, we'll have a table and do some activities for children. Please let Tina know if you're willing to help there too. Oliver Stokes will have an interment service in Phoenix on June the 20th. Please contact Tina if you like to join a carpool to go. I have others here. Ladies, lunch. It will be Friday, June the 13th. Take the risk. Come and enjoy food, conversation, and camaraderie. Another one here. There is a whole lot of either fresh basil. We say our covenant of right relations together once a month. Usually we do this the first Sunday of the month, but last week was a full service and we didn't want to make it run long. So we are doing this together today. Several years ago, we worked out a covenant of how we wanted to act well with each other. And we want to remember and recommit to it each month. This is not a creed that you have to believe, but a decision to act well in community. If you feel comfortable with these guidelines, please read the covenant with us, with me now. But if you don't read them, don't feel forced to. So we, the congregation of Sky Island Unitarian Universalist Church, covenant to treat all beings with compassion and kindness, Listen actively and speak responsibly. Seek understanding and be open to change. Acknowledge our imperfections and our differences with good humor. Devote our energies to creating and maintaining a vibrant, beloved community among ourselves and in the greater world. Our Chalice Lightning reading for today comes from Reverend Hannah Robert Bilney, who serves as co-minister at Fox Valley UU Fellowships in Appleton, Wisconsin. Prior to that, she served the UU Church for Cheyenne, Wyoming. Reverend Hannah lives in Appleton with her wife, Catherine, and their two kiddos, Ada and Benjamin. With 2 minutes each day, they aren't working or parenting. They enjoy doing crosswords, sampling local food and beer, and cheering on the Baltimore Orioles. People sometimes ask, is Pride a protest or a party? And the answer is, of course, yes, and why not? Why not rejoice as we resist, dance as we demand change, celebrate as we create community that delights in all of who we are? So bring all of that with you this morning. Bring your policy demands, bring your glitter, bring your Supreme Court broken heart, bring your rainbow socks, bring the emptiness you feel for your siblings gone too soon. Bring your Gloria Estefan remix. Bring your tender hope for change. Bring your most garish eyeshadow. Bring your spirit, tattered and battered by a world that seems to insist on choosing fear and hate. Gather up all these things and bring them here to a place where we don't have to shoulder these burdens or celebrate these joys alone. Come, let us worship together.
So, I just wanted, we are celebrating Pride today because it happens Saturday. And this is a month, we're just looking at complexity, but I realized we have a lot of parties. We have so many parties this year that Bisbee Pride can't even be a Baja 4 event like it was last year. The 4 churches, 2 in Tucson, 1 in Amato, and us, we all joined there. So the turnout for us was really great. But I think the turnout at Bisbee Pride last year wasn't as great because there had been some death threats. But there are elements that happen in pride parades that little book described to me. So why do we do Bisbee Pride? Why do we do Pride usually in June? Some of you know the answer. Because of Stonewall. June 28th, 1969, gay bars were often raided in New York in those days, but the difference was the people in the bar would not put up with it. And it led to neighbors joining in and 2 days of protests. And we call them the Stonewall riots, but that's why we do it in June. Now, can you imagine why Tucson is doing theirs this year, November 21st through 23rd? Yeah, they usually do it in September, but they're doing it at the end of November. They're aiming for cool. So that's one, and then the rainbow arches have become synonymous with being LGBT, and each of the colors represents something different. I wish I could find that. Oh, yeah. So red is life, orange is healing, yellow, sunlight, green, nature, blue, serenity or harmony, purple, spirit. But I imagine every person might have a different answer for what the colors mean. And most Pride events start with a contingent of lesbians on motorcycles. You know what they're called? Dykes on bikes. At one point it refers to the painted ladies. Does anyone know what they are? Well, that too, the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence are a group of lesbians who saint different people, and that's when it's like sister sainting. But I hadn't remembered, the painted ladies are in San Francisco. They're those really pretty, and that's where the first parade started. Yep, exactly. Beautiful spot, great view of beautiful Victorian houses called the Painted Ladies. So Association of Gay Men in Leather started post-World War II to try to show there's a diversity, a complexity of people who are gay. They're not always more feminine. They might also wear leather. But Pride invites us to come and celebrate life and the most important parts of ourselves, that they are welcome fully in our community. So I hope that some of you can come. Let me know. If you can't, I'll forgive you. I know there's Juneteenth in Tucson. There are protest marches in Tucson and Sierra Vista. But it's the 14th, next Saturday.
We are a caring congregation, and we share that what gives us joy and what weighs heavily in our heart. I will read the joys and sorrows I have here and put a stone in the bowl for each one. Are there any more on the back? Yeah, thank you. And people on Zoom, you may put your joys and sorrows in the chat on Zoom or turn off mute and speak them out loud at this very moment. So, yep, but okay, I'm going to begin with this. Ken Anderson had a heart surgery this past Thursday in Tucson. He's doing well and on the mend. According to an inside source yesterday evening, he is surprised at how well he feels. He expected to be absolutely miserable after surgery, but he is more just tired of being in the hospital. Amazing. Teresa Longmore is home from the Mayo Clinic in Phoenix. She has moved near to her children in Prescott as she gets treatment for lung cancer. All love and prayers are welcome. Susie Fawcett continues to live at the Haven of Sierra Vista and values visits. She has been sleeping a lot, but this week woke up more and spoke to some visitors. Let me see. Terry Reeves, our son Justin and family are here visiting from Da Nang, Vietnam. Did I say it right? Yeah, let me see. From Lex, Joy that Kirk Zimmerman, I said it right, has returned safely from his trip to Belize. Cool. This is from Georgia. So sorry that we are losing Alicia and David, in our community. Blessing to the both along our new road. Yeah, we are going to miss you so much. David, we have one. We are not going to be here for 2 weeks because we are attending my youngest graduation in Mexico City. So yeah, my baby. We will add stones for all the joy and the sorrows that fill our hearts but have not been said out loud here today.
So this reading comes from Lois Van Leer. She's actually Reverend Lois. She's a retired UU minister. And it's called For Pride. They will march, walk, wheel, dance, shimmy and shake, block upon block of undulating color, flesh, banners, signs, clothing or lack thereof, hands raised, hands linked, apart, together, singing, shouting, chanting, silent, joyous, tearful, nervous, afraid, proud, defiant, angry, happy, delirious, tentative, ecstatic, courageous, brave, free. The stereotype, the unrecognizable, the flamboyant, the ordinary, the parent, the child, the runaway, the lost, the lonely, the found, gay, lesbian, bisexual, trans, queer, intersexed, questioning allies. Those who taunt and jeer their banners of hate 10 feet tall. God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Burn in hell. The other slogans, straight but not narrow. I love my gay child, standing on the side of love. One day a year, 1 out of 365, Mardi Gras out of season, festive, bacchanalian, tame, booths, food, shopping. Underneath there is a history, resistance. It was the marginalized. Many of the people at Stonewall, some of them were trans, right? Of the marginalized, drag queens, transvestites, the butch and the femme, who, unlike Rosa Parks, did not sit down, but in their tired rage stood up, rose up, fought back, holding the police captive in the bars they had come to raid, their weapons, their oppression, their hands, beer bottles, Stonewall. 6 days of riots in New York, June 1969. A year later, a march in Philadelphia, New York, Chicago, LA, San Fran, and now, any weekend in June or November, anywhere around the world, Pride. Why do we march? For those who are not able, for those who have been murdered, for those who are ravaged by disease, for those who are still beaten, still taunted, still harassed, still victims, still targets. Why do we march? Because some truths ain't self-evident, because all men ain't protected equal, and we love a good party. They will march, walk, wheel, dance, shimmy and shake, block upon block of undulating color, flesh, banners, signs, clothing or lack thereof, hands raised, hands linked, apart, together, singing, shouting, chanting, silent, joyous, tearful, nervous, afraid, proud, defiant, angry, happy, delirious, tentative, ecstatic, courageous, brave, free. So I called today's sermon Partying with a Purpose because the theme of Bisbee Pride this year is Party with a Purpose. 21 years on. It's, 21 years on for Bisbee, but it's 55 for many of the other parades throughout this country. And why do we take part in this? Why do we celebrate and party and become ecstatic? Why do we do it that way? As an ally, I don't think I know all the words, all the reasons. Last year, I was walking behind 2 people from Mountain Vista UU who were so happy and clearly part of the community. And it really touched me, obviously, how much it must mean to be able to be openly who you are, to the core of your being. Whatever your gender identity, whatever your sexual orientation, you can be fully yourself, and other people come and support you. And I have some reasons why I think that is so important as an ally. I want to start with a great ally. We started our month of June with a big party yesterday. Jean McKean wanted us to celebrate her life. She wanted us to wear colors. And her daughter had an amazing story that I think can speak to all of us about what it means to show up and be allowed to be fully yourself. Her daughter, Diana, said, "I got engaged to a man from a conservative East Coast family, and I'm ashamed to admit I was worried about what my mother was going to wear. So she had a friend in LA go shopping with Jeannie to make sure it would be suitably conservative for a woman who had no conservative bone in her body," as Diana said, right? And her friend reported back, "We got a lovely burgundy dress." And Diana thought, phew, wow, that's checked off. I don't have to worry about that. If you were here yesterday, you know what happened. What's the operative word? Sequins. So as Diana said, my mother had other ideas, and those ideas involved sequins. Lots and lots of sequins, painstakingly sewed onto her beautiful dress, and matching burgundy pantyhose. You can see them, right? And matching shoes that shined even more with their new sequins, and a silver belt with sequins you can vaguely see, and matching sequined earrings. She looked sparkly and beautiful. So there she is in all her glory, her burgundy pantyhose. I had made the fundamental error of trying to turn her into something she wasn't, someone who fit in. And that was the theme of her talk. She'd been struggling because it's really hard to know what to pick about someone you know well. What are you going to say about them? So she said to her mother, give me something. What do you want me to say? And she felt like her mother said back, never fit in. But as she had said, I tried to make her into something she wasn't. And for that, I will never forgive myself. My mother was not meant to fit in. She didn't want any of us to fit in. She wanted us to shine. She loved her children, her friends at Sierra Vista Village, the community and joy she found at this church, her workout friends at Silver Sneakers, her 7 grandchildren, all of whom were present yesterday. And what she wanted for all of us more than anything was to live a life of adventure, joy, music, and to never, ever fit in. I think we can feel a taste of what pride means. That you're not being told to hide some of the most important life-giving parts of yourself. You're allowed to shine. This one day, this Mardi Gras out of season each year. Years ago, I discovered the Episcopal priest Carter Hayward. She was one of the ones who was irregularly ordained in 1974, before the Episcopal priests were women. 2 years later, they finally did it regularly. But when she was ordained at like 29, she looked about 12. Now she says, I've been a lightning rod. Because when she came out, that was nothing compared to having been irregularly ordained. But she wrote a book called Touching Our Strength. And she describes this inner source of life and creativity as an erotic force. It's not just sexual experience, although that's part of it, but it's this life force within us that you can feel when you stand up and you're vulnerable and someone laughs at you. You feel that wounding of your life source. If you are attacked sexually, you don't heal through sexuality, she believes. You heal through the whole life force, your whole self. And she says it's it is strengthened by people being present to each other. It's strengthened in community. If you've been hurt one way, sitting and listening to nature, or creating, or being in a company of friends, that's all part of healing our own erotic power. And it is such an important part of who we are. It is that vulnerable source at the heart of who we are. And for me, that's what Pride is about. In community, we celebrate that force and we protect it. And we find a place to help it blossom and grow in all of us, but especially in minority communities who've been attacked for that, for their gender, for their sexuality, for so many parts of what is crucial to who they are. Sarah Mazingo, so if we go to the next slide, yeah, there's Carter Hayward. And on the right, I found a podcast called Pride Stories. And I really enjoyed listening to Sarah Mazingo, a lesbian, who talks about coming out. I don't know if other people talk about this. I'd like to find it. Coming out is really important. But she says, this is a really vulnerable part of myself. I'm letting you in. So it might not just be coming out publicly, let's say in a march or to your family, but just letting people into her story and who she is. It's a very different perspective on it. And what an incredible privilege when people allow us to march with them, share with us out of years of not being seen or being wounded. In the next slide, we look at the word queer. So I think some of the words we take with us to Pride are love, self-love, the erotic power, being queer. And Bell Hooks, who was a professor at Berea College and a social critic, she died a few years ago. In 2014, she says, queer, not as being about who you're having sex with, that can be a dimension of it, but queer as being about the self that is at odds with everything around it and has to invent it and create and find a place to speak and to thrive and to live. And Karishma Gottfried goes on, she's a UU, and she says, I've flirted with a lot of different labels throughout the years, from ally to bisexual to lesbian, but none of them ever felt quite right. Each has a special place in my heart for the communities I've been in solidarity with and the identities I've claimed. But I keep returning to the word queer. And she and also Sarah say, some of the elders don't like the word queer. They don't want to use it for themselves because it was used as a weapon against them. But younger generations of the LGBT community have turned it and made it theirs. And I really, really want to go back to what Bell Hooks says about it being at odds with everything around you and having to shape yourself and the world so you actually fit. Because Gottfried goes on to say, I studied queer theology in seminary, and I've become more and more convinced that Unitarian Universalism is itself a queer faith, defined not by a creed passed down through generations, but by the real world commitments we make to each other in the present. Unitarian Universalism queers the idea of theology itself, not requiring the theos, God, to do the logos talk. Our God talk includes atheists, agnostics, polytheists, and all those who endeavor to engage in the search for truth and meaning. My queerness and my Unitarian Universalism are inextricably linked, informing each other at every bend of the road. And I really like that idea, and I feel that even in so I meet with different pastors throughout the month. Every week I talk to parish ministers of the Baja Four on Zoom. Once a month we eat together. I don't feel queer there. I don't have to change the environment to fit in. once a month, if I'm up for it, I go for a breakfast, hosted at the hospital for all the clergy and all the chaplains throughout Cochise County. And as you can imagine, when they start praying to Father God, I don't really fit in. But I go because I find out what's happening in the community. I can tell them what we're doing, and I keep connection alive. Even with the progressive pastors with whom I have lunch once a month on a Wednesday, I have to say to them, they were talking about spiritual gifts and how it might be useful to do a spiritual gifts survey with our church. I said, but okay, how do I translate it? So it's not just about God or a passage in the Bible, or because of course there are spiritual gifts referred to in Corinthians, referred to in many parts of the New Testament. But how do we do that as Unitarian Universalists? When I was studying interim ministry, luckily the professor, teacher, instructor was Unitarian Universalist. And she loved the fact she'd given us an exercise to look at our scriptures, to find something that defined. So I went to our 7 principles. In those days, we still had those. And I talked out of them about the question she'd posed. And she thought that was really great. I had to queer myself in a way. I had to translate to fit into the world around me. And I figure every one of us here has felt that way, right? Has anyone here ever felt perfectly at home everywhere they've gone? Right, right. So I go on just to quote a few more people about choosing to come to Pride in a spirit of resistance. So there's another slide. Eli Clare, who is a disability and queer advocate, talks about Pride as working in direct opposition to internalized oppression. The latter provides fertile ground for shame, denial, self-hatred, and fear. The former, Pride, encourages anger, strength, and joy. To transform self-hatred into pride is a fundamental act of resistance. And that's just everyday pride, being proud of who you are. The very parts of you that are shamed by the world we live in. It is so hard to remember day after day to unruffle our feathers and take pride in who we are, even the parts of us that are different and don't fit in. And then to walk and to claim it, but to walk together, those are acts of resistance that are incredibly important. People who have lived in shame and isolation, he says, need all the pride we can muster, not to mire ourselves in narrowly defined identity politics, but to sustain broad-based rebellion. We have to know our history. We have to fuel that broad-based rebellion. And finally, I want to talk about joy. So part of the reason I think it's important to dance and shimmy and wear clothes or not and wear color, like we did yesterday for Jean McKean, the color, is to claim joy, which isn't escapism. Anne Morrow Lindbergh says, for happiness, one needs security, but joy can spring like a flower, even from the cliffs of despair. And Reverend Dana Lee Simon, who's an evangelical Lutheran minister, talks about the choice of joy. So as I finish up, I want to leave you with some questions she poses. How am I going to show up in my life? How do I want to live out my values in the process of my own transformation? How do I hold all of life's complexities while trying to show up as my whole self? One of the possibilities is always joy. I can choose her or not. She's not a bypass of everything in this world that's hard to hold and feel. She's a tool that helps us grapple with their reality. She's like finding something you thought you'd lost forever. She's like rain falling on parched, cracked ground, and boy, do we know that. She's like the person at the party who approaches you when you feel lonely. So I hope you find ways to resist through self-love, love of others, forming community, embracing how you are queer and choosing joy.
As we extinguish our chalice and set forth from worship today, let us take in these words from retired UU minister, Reverend Elizabeth Kidd Kitchman. This is a call and response. Please, every time that I indicate, please repeat the phrase, may we live the spirit of pride. And this will be also on the screen. With gratitude for the freedom to be our true, authentic selves, may we live the spirit of pride. With the courage that comes from challenging fear, may we live the spirit of pride. With sorrow for those who could not be here with us today, and in honor of those who died of AIDS or who lost their lives, may we live the spirit of pride. With grief for those whose pain was unbearable and who left us too soon, may we live the spirit of pride. Looking ahead to the justice still withheld, may we live the spirit of pride. With the confidence that a sense of community banishes isolation and loneliness, may we live the spirit of pride. With the rainbow flag flying high, a sense of beloved community among us, and the joy that comes from making new connections. Thank you.